Good evening, Eric.
Ah, and good afternoon to you
Uh,
in England.
how
Uh,
are you, my friend? It's been a couple of weeks.
it's been 2 weeks, yeah, a couple exactly. Well, I'm fine. It's a rainy, rainy day here on Meadowmere Park as finally the snow and ice is going away, except on the bay. And other than that, um, I'm fine. Had bad news about friends, in England and here losing their loved ones. That's life, but it hurts me. But other than that, I'm okay. I'm okay. I there were things that upset me that goes on with law enforcement, and even though I'm pro cop, and it just I'm fine because I have to be. And what about yourself? How are you there?
Very well. I'm just waiting for spring to come, Eric.
Yeah.
I'm waiting
Well,
to get back into shorts and flip flops.
enjoy the winter. Enjoy the winter while you have it.
Yeah, I'm not very good at winter, Eric. I'm not gonna lie.
Well,
Uh,
it's a funny thing. I'm a cold weather baby. I love the cold. Hello, Steve. My
Hello,
mind,
Steve. Hello, Patrick.
my mind functions better in the cold. And good
Really?
afternoon, Patrick. Yeah, yeah. I love the cold, but I also,
See, I'm a
I like.
sun worshiper.
Yeah, it's funny. I lived in the Mediterranean, but I remember once I got a suntan on the Ostia beach. I was there with my friends Sheila and Addie, a young American girl, and it was cloudy, but we were on the beach.
Yep.
And the gray clouds, actually acted like some type of screening that increased the sun hitting us. And I had
Yes.
for practically 6 months a two tanned leg from the
You
practically the top of the thigh down. And
had
I
a trucker tan.
and like a little child, which used to happen to me out back here on the bay, I had sunburn, and all I could do is lie in bed for about a day and a half or so. But you know, I
I
mean,
can't wait to get a tan again.
going to Portugal.
I'm going to try to this year. I try and go every year. I didn't go last year, but I'm going to try to this year because
Mhm.
I feel at home on the beach, Eric.
Oh well,
And I like to collect seashells too. That's like my favorite pastime.
that's beautiful.
I specifically look for shark's teeth in particular.
That's an art. Collecting seashells is an art. And Portugal, I was there in 19. I was there with a young lady I had met on the um, I think it was the Leonardo da Vinci, going from Manhattan to Naples. I was going back to Italy, and we got off in Portugal. And I remember I lost these photographs. These beautiful, beautiful flamingos, pink flamingos in Lisbon and everywhere. It was such a beautiful place to be. Very,
Portugal is stunning,
it is, it is, it is.
and it's only 2 hour flight from here, which is even better because I'm not very good at flying. So
Yeah,
very lucky to be so close to Europe. You know,
I know, I know, I
can
know.
jump on the Eurostar and be in France in like half an hour.
Oh yeah, I've done it. I've done it. I've done it, and it's.
Even places like Egypt are like 3 hours maximum from here. I
Have you
mean,
have you been to Egypt?
I haven't. I've been looking to go, but I mean, I'm not seeing very good things about Egypt. Very dangerous place.
Well,
Um,
wherever you go today, there
I'm
is
talking about Cairo is extremely dangerous. I mean, taxi drivers trying to sell you drugs, people trying to scam you.
there's a
I mean,
total collapse. There's a total collapse everywhere, everywhere. And you talk about traveling. People have said to me, I've said I wanted money, not payment, to be able to do this case more than what has been done, even though people have contributed in their own way. Paul Santo Agostino has contributed. The research of conspiracy archivist Paul Hart, all these people in their own way, and others I haven't mentioned, have contributed. But at a certain point, you need the money to go out there and find, even when they say documents are destroyed, I often wonder if they're really in other government buildings, copies of them. I just, and thinking of traveling, one of the words in the title of today's show is Minot, and that's Minot, North Dakota.
Mhm.
Oh, he has an opium plantation, he says, in Nepal. Steve, come on, you're joking. If you have
I'd like to visit there.
oh yeah, I'd like to visit every place really, but
Yeah, what do you know about Minot, Eric?
well, what I know about Minot is that I I spoke with a lady that was in the Air Force 10 years after the Son of Sam case, and Minot, North Dakota, is a city, and it's in the county seat of Ward County in North Dakota, but it was named after a very famous person during the construction of a Great Northern Railway, and I was almost sure that there was a Minot, a man called Minot there, and it's a funny thing. It has a nickname, the Magic City. We don't hear that often, and it was named after Henry Minot, who was a great northern investor. He invested in the Great Northern Railway. He was an ornithologist, and Henry Minot actually came from New England. He wasn't out west. Henry Davis Minot. Now, what I learned about Minot, that is, yes, Mazish, that was you. You were there 5 years after John died, and
Wow.
I thought you were there though in 1986, Mazish. Anyway, Mazish was kind enough to give me some information. Number one, and correct me, Mazish, if I don't get it right, that the Minot Air Force Base, United States Air Force Base, is not actually in the city of Minot. So it seems to be like a geographical area that they call Minot. And it's very eerie. It's one of those Air Force bases that is one of the main centers for nuclear warheads, nuclear missiles. It's a very security tight Air Force base. And Mazish was a graphic designer there. And she described the base, and she knew where the house was. I believe she told me it was, let's say you enter it, but she said it was way in the back. She knew where Linda O'Connor's house was. And at the same time, she described, now this has to do with the fact that you and I believe Mr. John Carr was murdered and that it was not a suicide. What it has to do with, she explained to me about you and I, let's say we're with the New York, let's say we're with the United States Air Force, you and I. We drive up to the entrance to that Air Force base, and they don't let us in. And there it is. Yep, about 15 miles from town. So why won't they let you and I in, Rena, if we were with the United States Air Force? Because we don't have a sticker on our car, just like a registration sticker, an inspection sticker that you need yearly for your automobile, because we're not there at Minot. You had to have a special sticker showing that you could enter there, that you lived there, that you were there with the United States military officially. Okay? So I'm getting a bit thrown by while I'm talking with so many things popping up. If we could just hold that for a moment.
So, Patrick, you were born in Minot? I didn't know that.
Come on. That's interesting, Pat. But let me finish the story so people can understand what's going on.
Go on.
So what it is that we're not officially working there. Now, This is what brings up the mystery about John Carr's death, which I believe is a murder. I agree with his sister, Wheat Carr, the way she described it, and the more technical description of homicide detective Hank Chinotti from the New York Police Department, who went there with Maury Terry, and that was his doom because he claimed he was there on official business. He wasn't. So the police are obviously going to say, why didn't you ever tell us you were sending somebody officially? And he wasn't. You know, that's another story. But so you have to have permission to enter the base. They could invite people from a tavern, let's say townspeople, say, come on the base and have a party with us. The guard phones and says, Rena, you have invited these people? Yes, I did. They let you in. So that's how John Carr, who was out of the military at the time, if I'm correct, was able to be on the base and visit Linda O'Connor. Now, Linda O'Connor was not divorced. If she was divorced, she would have not been able to be there. She was separated from her husband, O'Connor. I forget what rank the man had. I don't know.
Yeah, John was living there with Linda.
Yeah. So, and also, as Mazish said, it's almost impossible to actually sneak into that base because of its maximum security.
Well, that's what makes me think someone on the inside, someone inside that house made the call to the police.
All right, there's two possibilities. There's three possibilities. A, somebody on the base who was there officially had to do with the murder of John Carr. Number two, somebody had been invited to the base and stayed on the base and murdered John Carr. Those are the two possibilities we have.
Mazish said they stop all vehicles at the gate, sticker or not. If you're in the Air Force vehicle, they wave you on.
Mm-hmm. But Mazish,
how come John Carr was allowed to be there, Eric?
Wait, one question, Mazish. In an Air Force vehicle, did I misunderstand you? Did it not have to be an Air Force vehicle that is stationed at Minot, or could it be any Air Force vehicle, Mazish? I just want to clarify that.
Well, yeah, that's like I said in the video me and Neo did last Friday. Who made the call about a trespasser in the house, a trespasser on the base? You know, was it Linda O'Connor herself? Was it Craig O'Connor? Was there a lover's triangle going on? Was there an argument? Maybe Linda called the police. There's trespasser here. We want John Carr out. We know that John wanted to marry Linda and she wouldn't divorce Craig. He came back from New York because Linda called him. Well, something was going on.
Okay, but you see, there's something very interesting there. If they were to say that if they were indicating that John Carr was, first place, did they give the name of a trespasser? No, they said that there was a trespasser on the base. So a trespasser on the base is not somebody who has been invited to the base and has been given the right to enter the base, the permission. A trespasser is somebody who is illegally on property.
Well, yeah, and it makes it sound urgent. It's that urgency. They want him out.
So the thing is could it be that somebody was hiding in an automobile of people or a person who was permitted to proceed?
Maybe the gunman or the hitman.
Yeah. Do they check the trunk? Do they check everything over? Do they examine the automobile of a non-Air Force person? You see what I'm saying? So
well, maybe the trespasser was the gunman, Eric.
Yeah.
Maybe they saw someone snooping around the house.
There's that she says, if it's from another base, it is stopped. They know that. Okay, thank you. So that you've answered my question, Mazish. If it's from another Air Force base, they can't enter automatically. They have to be permitted to enter. They have to be given permission to enter. So the big question is that John Carr, from what we know, was legally there. He was invited there. He was probably called in by Linda O'Connor.
Well, he was living there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, like I said, maybe there was a big bust up. There's clearly a lover's triangle going on. Eric.
Why do you say a lover's triangle? I'm curious. I'm not brushing it aside. Why would you say there is a lover's triangle?
Because John wanted to marry Linda. Linda wouldn't divorce Craig for whatever reason. Linda still thought very highly of Craig. In her DA tape, she's like, if John had ever like done anything to Craig, I would have thrown him out. She was still very protective of Craig. John went to New York, and then he came back because Linda called him. So he came back to Minot urgently and was dead within a few days.
Okay. So what we have here, though, is that she still loved her husband. And as I said, she was separated from him, not divorced.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
That's why she could stay on the base.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, she allowed John to enter the base, though. He was invited.
Well, yeah, he was staying there, yeah.
Yeah, he was invited there. So she was perhaps, if she said that she would have killed him if he tried to hurt her husband, Craig, then that means that she was concerned about maybe his behavior.
Yes, yes. And we know the autopsy report showed that there were no drugs or alcohol in John's system at the time. And that backs up Wheat's story that he came back from Minot, was in New York, was trying to get his life together.
Now, I agree with Mazish. Linda must have brought him on the base. We don't know of anybody else on the base, to my knowledge, that he was intimate with. But there is also fear. There's fear. I had brought this out a number of shows ago. When Linda O'Connor spoke to Wheat Carr is the sister of John Carr. She said they, and I've asked who are the they? She said they killed John, they killed Michael. Who are the they? There was fear there. There was something that was really, really stirring psycho-emotionally with these people. There was something serious going on.
Well, May says about John's car being left, and he was like, looking at the Carr's house and could see John's car sat there. So you're right, May. He came back without a car. So Linda must have brought him on base.
She had to bring him on base or something.
His car, Maury said his car was covered in snow. It hadn't been used.
That's right. And if Linda didn't bring him on base, somebody did bring him on base. She didn't mind he was on base, and because she had him stay with her.
He could have owed money from before he got straight. Some folks wanted him to do him for the reason. He was also known as a snitch. Yeah, and like me and Neo said last week, Phil Falcon was very upset with John because he was going around boasting of every drug deal he'd ever done. That's not going to go down too favorably.
Right, but there's a difference. If you're boasting about every drug deal you've ever done, you're being a wild gun, a wild seed in the wind, boasting about drug deals you've done. That's not being a snitch. Being a snitch is where you tell others, that who is guilty of something, who did something, and they should not be known for having done that. So there's a difference between being a braggadocio and boasting to impress people and being a snitch. Where did he drive Wheat Carr's automobile, Neo? Where did John Carr drive?
I think he's playing with words there, as in Wheat Carr, Carr.
Oh, so Falcon wasn't the only one. No, I think you're right, Maisie. She wasn't the only one.
What I find most interesting, Eric, is that you've got Terry Gardner saying he was first on the scene, and you got Glenn Geetson saying he was there and heard the gun go off. Oh, he is being serious. He drove from Yonkers to Minot in Wheat's car. I did not know that. Wow. Yeah, what I find interesting is you've got Linda say, you got Gardner saying he was first on the scene. You got Glenn Geetson saying he was called to a trespasser on the base, goes to the door, here's the gunshot with Linda.
That could be interpreted where, depending what can be interpreted, is the following. Geetson showed up. There's a report of a trespasser, and he hears the gunshot. Now, they find his body, right? They go in and they find his body
Yeah.
slumped over. But when they go in and find his body slumped over, if I recall correctly, did they not find also blood in another room?
Yes, and Terry Gardner told Linda to wipe up the blood.
Yeah. Now, the thing that's very strange is that when Terry Gardner says he was the first on the scene, does he refer to the fact that he was the first called in because of a murder? Geetson
They don't make it clear, Eric.
What?
They don't make it clear,
No,
but you've also got Linda saying, Eric, which makes it even more confusing, that when she finds John's body, her first call is to Craig O'Connor, but she doesn't specify, oh, the police were there with me. She doesn't even mention Geetson being there or Gardner.
That's right. She's in a state of shock. She calls her husband, Craig O'Connor. Now, I don't find that strange. Sometimes people in a state of fear, of shock, will call somebody they know before they even call the police. In a state of shock, they will do that. They won't be that rational. It's just like recently with the murder of Rob Reiner and his wife. Somebody comes in, I think it's maybe a sibling of the young man who killed his mother and father, and in a state of shock, they call the closest person to them. They don't act immediately the way we think one would rationally act because of such a irrational act in front of them. But what I'm trying to say about Terry Gardner is, did Terry Gardner mean he was the first police officer called being notified of a murder, whereas the first person there was there for the reason that there was a trespasser on the base? Now, there was another point that was brought up, and I believed I discussed this with Mezish. And it is also brought up, maybe Maury Terry brought this up. Yes, it has to do with the investigation. That's further on. Why was the investigation? I think somebody brought up a point that the investigation should have been done officially by the Air Force, but then the Air Force trusted the police there at Minot. There is this confusion of a story. It's ambiguous about who should have been doing what with the investigation. So we have three different stories. Linda O'Connor finds his body dead. Linda O'Connor is with Geetson and they hear a gunshot. There's blood on the floor. Terry Gardner says, wipe the blood up. If Terry Gardner really did that, he's guilty. He's guilty of destroying evidence. Whose blood was it?
Neo said, did someone call saying John was trespassing or just someone was trespassing? Just someone trespassing, Neo.
Someone, yeah, because he was there, Neo, he was there legally. He got on the base legally. Therefore, he's not a trespasser.
So you've basically got three different accounts, okay?
Mm-hmm.
In Linda's DA tape, nowhere does she say that Glenn Geetson was there. Her first phone call was to Craig O'Connor, who was so stoned on pot, he didn't realize what she was saying. And then Craig, in turn, calls his buddies at the emergency room. Well, why would he need to do that if the feds are there, Eric, and they could make the call to the ambulance, the ER, the paramedics?
Mm-hmm.
Why is Linda calling Craig for him to call his buddies in the ER?
Well,
if the police are there.
Yeah, but does Linda say she called her husband?
Yes.
No, does she say she called her husband to call his friends?
I don't know. She just said she called Craig O'Connor. It was the first phone call she made when she found John's body. He didn't know what the hell she was talking about because he was so stoned on pot. And then he called his buddies in the ER because he worked for the Minot in the ER at Minot Air Force Base.
Yeah, well, what do you want?
But if Glenn Geetson's already there or Terry Gardner, why they could control the situation and call appropriate authorities. Why
Right.
did Craig O'Connor need to call the emergency room if the police were there?
That's right. John had
Amazing.
bought a van, but it was reported
Repossessed.
Mama Carr in December. Frances said she doesn't know where John was located, not back at home yet. But Carr does give an account of everything her brother was doing, opening up a bank account, wanting to start studying again. And she says, does that sound like somebody who wants to commit suicide?
So I've got 5 or 6 little audio clips I want to play, which gives more detail, the case, the investigation, how someone says it was a sloppy investigation. And that says a lot. A sloppy investigation, Eric.
Well, from what we've just discussed preliminarily just now, you better believe it's sloppy. You got about 3 different stories, possibly 4 or 5 you could deduce and extract from those stories.
So the first tape is David Snyder, director of Northwest Mental Health Clinic, Minot, interviewed by Michael Armienti on October 4th, 1979.
Now, Michael Armienti is, for those who don't know, an assistant district attorney with New York's Queens County District Attorney Office. He was sent out to North Dakota by the office of District Attorney John Joseph Santucci, perhaps by the main man conducting the investigation, Assistant District Attorney Herbert Leifer.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
To John J. Santucci, District Attorney, from Michael Armienti, CLI, Homicide and Investigations Bureau. Subject: interview with Mr. David Snyder, Director, Northwest Mental Health, in Minot, North Dakota, on October 24th, 1979. Mr. Snyder verified that Lee Slater was employed by the Northwest Mental Health and was the therapist who treated John Carr. He gave us access to his file. The file did not have any mention of John Carr's discussion to Lee Slater in regards to David Berkowitz. Mr. Snyder did provide us with a photocopy of the social intake interview taken by Lee Slater, and the follow-up of Lee Slater with John Carr. Lee Slater saw John Carr on 2 occasions, once on an emergency call to John Carr's residence as a result of an overdose, and secondly at St. Joseph's Hospital in the psychiatric unit on January 12, 1978, where the social intake interview was taken. The progress notes of Lee Slater indicate that the next contact with John Carr was on January 27, 1978, when he received a telephone call from John Carr stating he will not be keeping any further appointments.
That's because he
On February 2nd, 1978, Mr. Slater received a telephone call from John Carr stating that he had decided not to remain in Minot but return to Yonkers with his parents. When Mr. Snyder was asked as to his reaction upon reading the article published by the Minot Daily News in reference to statements made by Mr. Slater in reference to John Carr's mention of Berkowitz during his social intake interview, Mr. Snyder said that he was not surprised, having known Mr. Slater. He continued on to saying that when he, as director of the Northwest Mental Health, was told to release 4 therapists as a result of budgetary problems, Mr. Slater was the first to go.
And we will get to Lee Slater in a minute because that's very important because, you know, he's accused of misquoting what John Carr said about, you know, knowing David Berkowitz, and he was with him some of the attacks.
He was a mental health worker, right?
Lee Slater, yeah. And he was the first to go when they made cutbacks.
Yeah, and Snyder was the head of the
Yes.
medical institution. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm following it, but I can't understand Armienti reading the way he is. It's almost as if he's trying to make out what the words he's reading, the script or something. It's very strange reading from him. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's not the easiest to follow, is he?
No, he makes a long beard of it. It's chop, chop, chop. It's as if he's trying to he can't understand somebody's handwriting. Go ahead.
So if I go and look for Lee Slater's tape, and then we'll play Jeff Neese's tape, you know.
Is that it with Armienti and Snyder?
So, yep, you got Michael Armienti, counselor, North Central Mental Health Center, Minot, North Dakota, counseled John Carr on several occasions. Okay.
To John J. Santucci, District Attorney, from Michael Armienti, CLI, Homicide and Investigations Bureau. Subject: interview with Lee Slater, October 25th, 1979. Mr. Lee Slater treated John Carr as a result of an overdose in January of 1978. He is no longer affiliated with the North Central Mental Health and Retardation Center in Minot, North Dakota. He is presently a real estate broker in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
I was just thinking.
Mr. Slater was asked if he gave such an interview.
Did you say something, Eric?
I was just thinking what Patrick said about Armienti, the way he speaks on drugs. It's as if
he's very slurred.
It's as if he was blowing weed.
He's very slurred, isn't he?
Pardon heaven. So Slater went to help Carr, even though he was no longer involved in mental health. He was a real estate agent.
No, this was before they let him off.
Before they let him off. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, but it's Armienti's reading that.
He calls
he chops it all up.
In one tape, he says Sam Berkowitz. It's very, very, very odd. I think it might even be on one of these tapes.
Go ahead.
To Jeff Neese, and he did so confirm. However, he stated that he was misquoted, that what John Carr did in fact say, although John Carr did in fact say that he and Sam Berkowitz were acquaintances
Sam Berkowitz?
and accompanied each other downtown, this was the result of unintended meetings, and that they would travel together if going the same way.
Now, what do you think about that statement, Eric?
That they traveled together if they were going the same way.
Yeah, Lee Slater is saying that's what John Carr said.
That John Carr said, and who was he traveling together with? The Sarmienti's driving me up the wall. I never heard this.
John Carr has essentially apparently said to Lee Slater, you know, I didn't know Berkowitz personally, but I met him in the street, and if we were going in the same direction, we'd walk together.
Interesting. What more can I say? Interesting. Doesn't mean they shot together.
Mr. Slater denied ever making the statement that John Carr had been with David Berkowitz during the crimes, or one of them, since John Carr never made such a statement.
So it's been misquoted.
This doesn't make
John
sense.
Carr.
Hold on. It doesn't make sense. He says that John Carr never stated that he did any of the murders with Berkowitz, right?
Yeah, he was misquoted.
And then he says, or one of them. What?
Yeah, he was misquoted, Eric. What he actually said, John Carr said, was he met David unintentionally walking in the same direction. Jeff Neese was misquoting him.
Yeah.
Do you follow?
Yeah, I do. I just don't care for this Sarmienti, but go ahead. Go forward with him.
Gave the impression he had information not known either to the public or to the police by stating he knew such information, but would not elaborate when asked. John Carr was no longer under the influence when such statements were made, but had dried out. This statement was given to Mr. Slater during a social intake interview, a procedure followed at the first meeting by a therapist with his patient. Such contains background of the patient's family.
He's very slow, isn't he?
It's
Where he
insane.
lived, etc.
Truthfully.
Mr. Slater remembers John Carr saying the above as a result of John Carr's discussion of his parents living in Yonkers and the fact that he had lived in Yonkers and grew up in Yonkers. When asked if John Carr had ever mentioned being in Texas during the social intake interview, Mr. Slater stated that he had to have been in Texas during his military. Mr. Slater stated that
During what?
although on the first meeting, John Carr did seem a wandering person with no goals, he did form such goals.
He was trying.
John Carr stated that he was going to go back to school, get off drugs,
Mm-hmm.
go to New York to get himself straightened out.
And he did, and then Linda summoned him back. And then he died a few days later, right?
Yeah, hold on a minute. There's a word after during that skips on the tape. During what? It doesn't, we can't catch that word.
I think what you have to remember is I don't think they ever, like, when they were doing this, ever thought that these would be on the internet. Or, you know, these were just purely for the police force, the DAs. And you got to bear that in mind, okay? They never knew that people would be streaming this stuff 45 years later. However.
Yeah, but I have to be truthful. Even if it's private, who the hell reads like that? You know,
I suppose they typed up the transcript. The audio went on to transcript.
Right. Now, what I want to ask you is this. What do you mean, Linda O'Connor? She called him back. She says, come back?
Yes. He'd been in New York for 3 weeks, and they talked on the phone, and he went back.
So she must have had some affection for him.
Yeah. Something happened. And then he died a few days later. Okay, got a few minutes left here.
It makes you
He did not give the impression.
Sorry?
It makes me suspicious of something.
Yes.
What
Yes. What happened? What the hell happened?
Well, I could just put this forward for a reason. Not that I want to be malicious with somebody. What if she called him back for him to be hit?
Anything's possible, Eric. This case is all over the place.
Of having suicidal tendencies. When asked if John Carr mentioned if he felt comfortable with any particular individual or confided in any particular individual, Mr. Slater stated that there was such a person, Dr. James Brent, at the Minot College. During the interview with Linda O'Connor, this was asked of her, and she stated that there was no such relationship with Dr. Brent, but the only meeting had with Dr. Brent was as a result of a psychological profile given by Dr. Brent to John Carr and Linda O'Connor as a result of the two of them taking a psychology course and volunteered to have such tests performed. According to Linda O'Connor, these results were discussed with Dr. Brent, and he indicated that
Exactly, Amigo.
John Carr was within the normal range of depression. When Mr. Slater was asked if he did in fact give permission
Never thought of that, Patrick.
to have the article printed, he stated that he did not, due to the confidentiality of the conversation with John Carr, although he did discuss it with Jeff Neese. And he felt that a discussion would not breach any confidentiality since John Carr was dead, but he did not want the article to be printed.
What do you make of that, Eric?
Oh, well,
A
it's
lot of
interesting.
misquotes. A lot of misquotes.
It's something that I would have to have in front of me. I'd probably make a transcript of it to analyze without his voice. It's very
Yeah.
staccato, very partitioned, very compartmentalized. It
It's like watching paint dry.
Yeah, I'm not being sarcastic, and I'm not, as you know, I'm not. I don't put people down for the way they act or anything, but it's absurd. It's just absurd.
Does he annoy you, Eric?
Yeah, he does.
Well, we're going to go to Jeff Neese next. He's who they were just talking about, who's essentially going to misquote what Lee Slater said in the paper. So here's old Jeff Neese. Let's look at his reporter. Minot Daily News worked with Maury Terry in investigating the John Carr connection to the Son of Sam case. And that wouldn't, he's going to misquote him saying that John Carr told Lee Slater that he was at one or two of the Son of Sam crime scenes. They're going to try and make this connection, aren't they? Any way they can. And reporters are.
Jeff Neese. Now, did Jeff Neese die? Is he the one who made a? Is he the reporter in North Dakota who died on the highway?
I'm not sure, Eric. I always forget which characters were in Josh Siemens. I know Lee Slater was in the documentary. Terry Gardner died. I know that.
No, this is way back then.
Okay.
Then there is somebody who.
Well, while I play it, why don't you look it up? All right. So this is Jeff Neese.
To John J. Santucci, District Attorney, from Michael Armienti, CLI, Homicide and Investigations Bureau. Subject: interview with Jeff Neese, reporter with the Minot Daily News, on October 24th, 1979. Jeff Neese was interviewed as a result of a story published by him in which he revealed the contents of a conversation he had with Mr. Lee Slater, the therapist.
See, they're all connected, Eric, you see?
Yeah.
Who had spoken with John Carr as a result of John Carr's interview, as a result of John Carr's overdose
and this
in
contradicts
January of 1978.
Yeah. Wait, what contradict? Tell me.
Go ahead.
The report stated in pertinent parts, quoting Lee Slater, that John Carr had told him he was a friend of the Son of Sam killer.
See?
David Berkowitz and him were friends.
See?
They were more than acquaintances.
See?
When they both lived in New York, they would bump into each other.
Now, who stated that? John Carr?
They didn't hang around together.
And that's what Lee Slater said, yes.
Mm-hmm.
He alluded to the fact that he had been with David Berkowitz during the crimes, or one of them.
And Lee Slater said he's misquoted.
Mr. Neese was asked if Lee Slater did in fact say that, and his reply was positive.
See?
When asked what other information Jeff Neese may have had. What he revealed were things already known by the writer. And no further questioning was had. Jeff Neese did want to publish a story in the Minot Daily News indicating that this writer and Detective Tom Mulderick were in Minot and investigating the John Carr incident. But an agreement was made not to publish such story in order to give this writer and Detective Tom Mulderick more time to interview further subjects, and for not doing such until we left, this writer and Tom Mulderick did give Jeff Neese our respective names.
Yes, he is. So you've got Jeff Neese essentially was going to print misquotes from Lee Slater. What Lee Slater said, what John Carr said to Lee Slater was that I just bumped into David. And
now, where does Jeff Neese get these misquotes?
I don't know. So either Lee Slater did in fact say that and he's denying it later on, or is this just a case of a reporter making stuff up to fit the narrative because he was friendly with Maury? You see how jumbled up, like everyone contradicts the other person, like even the cop.
I don't see him making it up.
But Lee Slater denied saying that. He said what John Carr actually said to him was, I bumped into David Berkowitz walking down the street, an unintentional meeting. But Jeff Neese is over there saying that Lee Slater said, John Carr told me he was friends with David Berkowitz. And he was, But
then Armienti is reading Lee Slater before. And Slater states that John Carr, does he say he was friendly with Berkowitz and that whenever they met, they would walk together?
Unintentional meetings, he said.
Thank you, Omega. That's John Graham. Thank you. That's the reporter who was killed in a car accident, and there's suspicion he might have been murdered because he shot his mouth off saying to a number of people, we're going to put you away. Thank you, Omega. So
May says, I think Neese was told that off record, but he published it anyways. Yeah, exactly. So the next tape, Eric, is Dr. John Smith. Let me go and find it. Right. So
I don't think Neese said that to satisfy Terry. I think that it's just a question of historical reporting where you're many times going to get different stories and people are going to jumble up what's been said. They sometimes believe something was said and it wasn't.
To suit a narrative, yes. Plus, you have to remember he was friends with Maury. Okay, he was working with Maury.
Right, but then that's where you have to suppose that he's going to force that John Carr was involved with David Berkowitz, which is not impossible because we have Berkowitz himself saying he knew John Carr and Michael Carr to Michael Caparelli.
Take that what you will, Eric. I mean, I think if there's any possibility, right, I will never close the door on David and John knowing each other, okay? Because I can't. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
All right. But I think that makes a lot of sense. If there's any slight possibility they did know each other, I mean, I meet lots of people walking down the street.
Right. Look, we all know a lot of people, but it doesn't mean that a person we know, we are 24 hours a day involved in what that person does.
Neo says, but Slater says it right in the right way, Sons of Sam, and you can see Slater was assuming.
But Slater says it the right way in Sons of Sam, and you could see that Slater was assuming. Yeah, well, assumptions don't help. You're right, Neo. Assumptions do not help when somebody tries to put them across as facts.
He said John says he had info New York would want to know. And he did. Yeah, he did. Not the info they think, though, right? He had info about David Berkowitz harassing his family, right, Neo? Is that what you're getting at?
Unless he had other information about what Rothstein had known outside of the Son of Sam case of Yonkers being a starting point, which he got from Ace Brown, of narcotics trafficking out west, one of the points being North Dakota.
Right. Dr. John Smith, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting tape. Very, very interesting.
To John J. Santucci, District Attorney, from Michael Armienti, CLI, Homicide and Investigations Bureau. Subject, interview with John C. Smith II, MD, pathologist at the Trinity Medical Center, Minot, North Dakota, on October 24th, 1979. Dr. John Smith provided a copy of the autopsy attached here too.
Who's
Mr. Smith was asked, Dr. Smith was asked if he had noticed any scars on Mr. Carr, and replied that he does not recall seeing any scars, nor does he recall specifically looking for them. That the autopsy was treated as a routine autopsy with no specific attention given to any parts of the body. Dr. Smith said that John Carr's condition was such that it could not be identified by means other than fingerprints. A toxicological evaluation was performed, and see attached. The results were negative.
See? Negative. No drugs, no alcohol in the system. So that backs up what we said. He was trying to get his life together.
That's right.
Tom Turkey said that dude was taking drugs of any kind on a daily basis. And here we have no drugs in the system.
That's
we know sometimes drugs take days to leave the system.
That's correct.
So I think he was trying to turn his life around. Even we said, you can tell someone says it and then really says it. She says he really said it.
Right. And I think she even says that she would have known if he was still taking drugs. But the other fact is this: is that when Tom Turkey Taylor says he was taking drugs all the time, we have to look at what period is that, though. Is it before this period when he cleaned himself out? You see what I mean?
Oh, well, by these accounts, I've got a letter to show after these tapes, and this dude was just off the rails.
Who's the dude off his rails?
John Carr.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, he was, yeah. Neo says, the girl, Patrick, the girl again. Yeah, these tapes I'm going to play in a minute, I mean, pretty much sum up everything. Eric's very sloppy investigation by the Minot police. Patrick says, and who was the toxicology done by the pathologist, I presume? But as you'll see, no records of fingerprints anywhere. No records of fingerprints, Eric.
Yeah, and that makes you suspicious. No records. There had to be fingerprints, but no records of fingerprints, and that takes you back to Terry Gardner saying, "Clean the blood up."
Yeah.
You almost want to start
special attention.
Yeah.
You want to start to wonder, was Terry Gardner a rogue cop?
Yeah.
You never know. We know cops. Yeah. Were they rogue cops?
Yep.
I tried to speak to some of them. They won't talk.
Yep.
I called the precinct. Oh, I know Mike. Well, can I speak to Mike?
And it's also funny, Eric, that people are trying to FOIA documents and then there's nothing.
That's right.
Oh, we don't have anything for you.
Oh,
go away.
That's right. You can't get documents from North Dakota. You can't get them at all.
No.
They claim they sent documents to one of the district attorney's offices. What was it, Kings or Bronx? Where are they? They claim that they didn't want to pay attention to them. Did they really send documents to New York?
I've never seen the autopsy report. I've never seen toxicology report. I've never seen fingerprints. I've only ever seen a few documents from Minot police. I know people have tried to get them, but like I say, they just don't seem to exist, or they've destroyed them, or
with me, I can't. There always can be sloppiness, like what happened this morning with me with my medical exam, which I never had that because of how they screwed up my prescription and my date of birth. I've postponed it till May, but what I'm trying to, it happens. But here, there's too much that contradicts. There's too much that is left unanswered. And
there's a lot of contradictions.
Yeah, and I become suspicious also. And I'm not trying to be malicious. I'm not trying to say guilt. I'm suspicious of the behavior, even of Linda O'Connor, and not because she called her husband. Other things. I'm just suspicious of the whole thing.
Well, you've got John Carr's friend contradicting each other, because Phil Falcon said that Barry DeSanko was there when they did the sacrifice the cat. Barry DeSanko's denying being there. You got Linda O'Connor saying that she was there, no sign of police. You got Glenn Geetson saying that he was there when he heard the gunshot, but then you have Terry Gardner saying he was first on the scene. So I mean, and then you got the reporter with the Lee Slater. I mean, contradicting each other.
Well, you see,
There's no straight story.
But as I said, that Geetson was called for a trespasser. Gardner says
he doesn't even mention Terry Gardner being there.
Yeah, right. And Gardner says, though, he was called because of the murder. So there's two different reasons why they're called.
They don't detail it very good.
Geetson is called for a trespasser. Then he supposedly hears the murder. We're supposed to believe it's a suicide. And yet Gardner is the one who's called for the homicide. And he's about... Well, I think that what Gardner did is criminal. I would even tell him right to his face. Why do you clean up the blood? Who the hell is he? What type of an investigator is he?
Neo said a lot of records were done away with in the 80s. Yeah. And when they went from paper to computer. Yeah.
Okay, Neo, when they went from paper to computer, those records that went from paper to computer still exist, but they exist as computer. Or do you mean, Neo, that not everything went to computer? And as I read to you, what New York State Archives did they destroy them? Did they destroy the records and never went to computer? You see, there's a difference. Yeah, they said, "Oh, Eugene Gold, another beauty of a person."
Linda lies. That is a strike. Yeah, I was just going to say, in the episode of Unsolved Mysteries, you got Terry Gardner playing the role of Terry Gardner, walking into the bedroom John Carr was in, and he says, the night it happened, the day it happened, Linda Connor said he committed suicide, and then the very next day, he was murdered. He goes, you got the same character saying one thing one day, and then the next day her story's changed.
And that's why I fault George Bird for not asking Wheat Carr, despite of what you believe about John being murdered and Michael falling asleep at the wheel, why would she exclaim to you over the phone, they killed John, they killed Michael? What do you think she means by that? You see what I mean? That means what we're dealing with when she then says a third thing. She says suicide, murder, but then there's a third working of it. It's homicide, but she's saying that she knows that someone did it. She can allude to someone killing them. She's trying to make it, as if she knows that there's a group out there, and so forth and so on. So it's just the cops screw up. They don't ask the questions that should be asked, and I would really grill her. I would grill Linda O'Connor. You can't contradict like that.
Let's carry on with the tape, Eric.
Yeah, go ahead.
Was given to commonly abused drugs as a result of John Carr's known drug abuse conveyed to Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith also provided a copy of the certificate of death attached hereto, signed by Dr. Smith, stating as the immediate cause of death, gunshot wound of head. Dr. Smith was questioned as to the identification procedure followed at the morgue, and he stated that as the attendant brings in the body, he signs in the body, upon which time the morgue takes control of the body. The attendant's identification is based on whatever means were used at the scene. As far as the coroner's office is concerned, the person's name given at the time the body is signed in is sufficient identification. An independent identification is not made after the autopsy is performed by the next of kin, nor any friends of the deceased, nor is an identification made by the first officer on the scene, subsequent to the body being dropped off at the morgue. So that once the body is received by the morgue, Dr. Smith, the sole pathologist at Trinity Hospital, actively performing autopsies, then performs the autopsy and makes arrangement or has arrangements made to have the body sent to the funeral home, who will be then handling the body. There is no one assigned to the morgue whose function it is to fingerprint the bodies as received. Dr. Smith stated that it is the function of the police department to take fingerprints at the scene. During his tenure at Trinity Hospital, he has only had the occasion to see Detective Geetson take prints of a body not more than 3 times. And this was the result of very unusual circumstances surrounding the death. Dr. Smith further stated that there were no unusual circumstances surrounding John Carr's death and does not recall seeing Detective Geetson fingerprint John Carr
That's
at
crazy.
the Trinity morgue.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
As a result of information received by this writer that at one occasion John Carr's stomach was pumped as a result of an overdose in which human urine was found, Dr. Smith was further asked if such can be detected. Dr. Smith stated that if the only fluids which was taken out of the stomach was detected by color or smell as urine,
What's that?
then such is possible. But
I just said, why would anyone drink urine? I mean, why would you do that?
Yeah, but when he says he finds urine in him, what does he mean? His bladder?
Yes. No, his stomach. He was drinking urine.
Well,
Listen.
there are people who do cures. They believe urine can cure. I had a friend who drank his own urine at an Indian restaurant in India. After the meal, they urinate in the glass and they drink it.
Oh, yeah, some people swear by it, Eric. It's very, very odd. Very, very odd.
if the urine was mixed with any other stomach contents, then such would not be traceable,
Ugh.
since the metabolism of urine, when broken down,
Ugh.
is similar to that in blood, or traces of it can be found similarly in blood. Such a conclusive statement cannot be made. Nor are there any tests known to Dr. Smith which would specifically isolate urine within stomach contents.
Do you notice they don't go into detail about like the facial injuries? Like,
No, nothing. It's a very
it's very odd, isn't it?
yeah.
I mean, you'd think a pathology report would have, damage to the face. Like, say Kurt Cobain's autopsy report goes into really great detail about the injuries sustained. Like, there's just hardly anything about John Carr. Lack of documentation. I just find the whole thing very suspicious.
I'm suspicious of everything. I'm suspicious of all of them. I'm sorry if it's supposed to be done a certain way and it's not done that way. And we're being fed a lot of words that seem interesting, like pumping the stomach, finding urine, no narcotics. Come on.
So the next tape, Eric, Rick Farron, Commanding Officer, Office of Special Investigations, the United States Air Force, Minot, North Dakota. And we have the wonderful Michael Armienti yet again. All right.
I'd like to know what the Dakota policemen found when they interviewed Linda O'Connor. They also interviewed Craig O'Connor, Tom Turkey Taylor, and Darlene Christensen. Also, two friends of his, Leslie Shago. I'd like to know what the investigation report was about investigating those people.
Well, Darlene Christensen's tape is pretty much, you can't make out hardly anything.
Mm-hmm.
The audio is terrible on her tape. It's a shame because she was Tom Turkey's girlfriend.
That's right.
So, Rick Farron, let's see what he has to say.
Mm-hmm.
To John J. Santucci, District Attorney, from Michael Armienti, CLI, Homicide and Investigations Bureau. Subject, F.R. Ferron, Ferron, OSI, Commanding Officer. October 25th, 1979. Mr. Ferron is the commanding officer of the Office of Special Investigation at the Minot Air Force Base. He was interviewed as a result of information received that he had received a set of fingerprints belonging to John Carr taken by Detective Gietzen. Mr. Ferron does not remember receiving prints.
No fingerprints.
But he is forwarding copies of the investigation report presently filed in Washington to be received by this writer at the office.
Now, why is he going to Washington for fingerprints, John Carr?
Yeah, that was a question that had been brought up. We had spoken of that. Others have spoken of it. Is it because Washington might have still military records of John Carr?
Yeah, from all the tapes I've heard, nobody seems to have seen any fingerprints of John Carr.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Ferron stated that the jurisdiction between the base police and the sheriff's department of Ward County is concurrent when an incident arises at the base, the subject of which is a non military personnel
So he's non-military,
living on base.
living on base.
The
And-
jurisdiction of the base police is primary when an incident occurs dealing with a person who is in the military on base. And the jurisdiction of the Ward County Sheriff's Department is primary when a military personnel is involved in an incident off base.
Right.
In regards to this incident, the first officer at the scene was Terry Gardner, who
See?
refused
Mm.
any assistance from the Office of the Special Investigations,
That is crazy.
who refused any tests.
Why would he refuse assistance? Why?
Who's refusing? Gardner.
Yes.
And who's testifying that Gardner refused?
This is what Rick Farron is saying.
Did you see what Mazish said? Exactly what I did. That Washington, as soon as you enlist, all your details are sent to Washington.
Wow. Sorry, after discharge, AF supplied fingerprints. Yeah, crazy. Crazy. They just, it's still crazy, Eric.
Offered to be taken by the Office of the Special Investigation to determine if in fact it was a suicide. Mr. Farron believes that this was a very sloppy investigation, and he also believes that the base pathologist may have taken fingerprints of John Carr at the scene, but we are awaiting the report from.
Now, you'd think if they had the fingerprints, they wouldn't have to go to Washington to get them. They could just get them from Minot, right?
Well, let's put it this way. You take the fingerprints at the scene of death, and you could want to go to Washington to confirm and cross-refer that these were indeed the fingerprints of John Carr, because he was in a pretty bloody mess.
Yeah, Neo says, but Geetson says he was there. Now this guy states he was alone. I mean,
Yeah, but as I said, Neo, I mean, I know I'm splitting hairs. Well, that's right. Well, of course, contrasting, and that's the problem. Nobody goes back and forth. There's what Maybeth said. They take the prints at enlistment, of course. What they do, what we have here is two different stories with Geetson and Gardner. And as I said, Gardner might have been the one called for the murder or the death, but Geetson was called for a trespasser. There's a difference. So the
but
first.
why don't either of them mention each other, Eric?
That's a mystery, and I think it's corrupt. I think it's corrupt that somebody higher up in law enforcement or the Air Force did not put them both together in the same room.
There's no clear picture of what actually occurred
No.
the night
No.
John Carr died.
Mm-hmm.
Contradiction.
The clearest picture we have is Wheat Carr and Hank Chinotti describing the death, that it wasn't suicide.
And I'm in agreement with Wheat.
Mm-hmm. Well, Chinotti gives he gives a logical forensical.
Just because someone was suicidal doesn't mean they killed themselves. I mean,
that's right, because that's why you have to be careful. Oh, I really don't feel depressed. I've been thinking of committing suicide, and somebody has something against you, And therefore they could say, well, he or she was always talking about suicide. You see what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's very similar to Kurt Cobain. I mean,
Yeah.
he'd made references to suicide, and I personally think Kurt did, but a lot of people don't think he killed himself. Let's carry on.
Washington.
Sorry?
These are mysteries, and what annoys me is that if law enforcement carried out according to what is police science, everything meticulously, and did not think of how much it costs, did not think of politics, did not think of saving their own jobs because they might be pushing something too much, you could really solve a lot more. Because look at the cold cases that years and years later are solved, because they originally were not investigated as they should be.
3 stories now to get by to look ahead of, right? Linda, Geets, and Gardner. One of them is lying.
You say one of them. What if it's 2 of them, Neo?
Or 3 of them. What if they're all in on it? Actually, 2 of them. Only one could be right. Oh. Patrick Thomas says, yeah, but JC traveled halfway across the country to do himself in. That seems odd. Yes, Patrick. Let's carry on.
Mr. Farron also gave us the name and phone number of his counterpart in New York to be reached
I wonder who that was.
if further questions arise or if further information is needed.
Who's the counterpart of Farron?
I don't know.
Mr. Farron further stated that the furnishings in the apartment where John Carr was staying, which was on base, given to Craig O'Connor and used by Linda O'Connor as a result of Greg O'Connor and Linda O'Connor's separation, were much more expensive than someone in Craig O'Connor's rank and salary could afford. However, this was not followed up since he felt it was possible that as a result of Craig O'Connor being stationed abroad for 3 years, he may have accumulated enough funds to be able to afford such furniture and simultaneously live off base, supporting, in essence, 2 apartments.
Yeah, I wonder how Craig afforded such swish furniture.
And is he allowed to live off base with 2 apartments?
Well, he was. Do you think there was a lover's triangle going on here, Eric?
Well, I don't think it was a menage a trois where the 3 of them are making love together at once.
Oh, Lordy.
No, I think that there could have been a lover's triangle. I think that the center of it could have been Linda O'Connor. I mean, on the one hand, she says she's concerned about yeah, that's exactly what I said, Maisie. She was there for the trespasser, and Gardner was the first to show up when there was reported a homicide.
Why doesn't Linda say that?
Well, because there's something suspicious about her. I think she could also be in a state of shock from what she later would say to Wheat Carr about they killed. So
if you remember, Eric, Linda told Wheat not to tell Herb Lifer that they had spoken, and then Wheat went out the room and told her lawyer, and then they came back in, and Wheat was like, I wasn't completely honest with you. I had spoken to Linda, but she told me because she was a school teacher, she didn't want to get involved in all this. Well, you are involved. You were his girlfriend.
Now, that's when Wheat Carr went out of the room when Leifer and his men spoke to the entire family. But when Leifer and George, it's with George Bird that we come across Linda O'Connor when he takes over from Leifer. There's no going out to speak to somebody. No, I don't think base housing had figured out Linda was staying there alone.
So essentially, John Carr and Linda were nothing to do with the Air Force, but yet they're both living on the base.
Yeah, but as I told you, and I think Mazish had told me this, Linda could live there because she was separated from Craig.
And she was married to someone in the Air Force.
Yeah, she was separated, but she wasn't divorced. If she had been divorced, I believe Mazish had told me she wouldn't be able to live there. But being separated, no divorce was finalized. She could still be there.
But Gardner was alone and requested backup. Was it because Geetson was already there? None of them paint a clear picture of what happened, and we got no police reports to read.
That's right. Nothing.
I mean, if you look at Josh Siemens' documentary, you got Geetson essentially sounded like it was just him. You got Terry Gardner in Unsolved Mysteries making out it was just him.
That's right. They don't talk. They all want to be stars, and then where are the documents sent to Eugene Gold? Can we get those documents? Did they destroy them?
More than likely. We've got one tape left, Eric. Police Sergeant Olson. Sergeant Minot, North Dakota Police Department. And we've got Michael Armienti again.
Ooh.
You'll all be thrilled to know.
Yeah, bring on the Shakespeare.
Alrighty.
Mm-hmm.
It's only 2 minutes long.
It could be 20. I'm interested, but it
To John J. Santucci, District Attorney, from Michael Armienti, CLI, Homicide and Investigations Bureau. Subject: interview with Sergeant Olson of the Minot Police Department, October 25th, 1979. Sergeant Olson was the person who performed an examination of the .30-30 rifle used by John Carr in order to determine any fingerprints thereon.
Too much blood.
The results of his examination were negative because of the fact that the rifle was covered with a lot of blood.
Just like Kurt Cobain.
And any fingerprint identification was impossible. It was also questioned as to whether he received a set of fingerprints taken of John Carr for comparison from Detective Geetson. His reply was negative. He never received any such prints.
That's amazing.
This is contrary to what Detective Geetson
More
stated.
contradictions.
Yeah.
Yet another contradiction, Eric.
That's all we have are contradictions, people avoiding the truth. And I can't help but be suspicious of all of them. I'm sorry. I'm tired of thinking, oh well, this can happen, that can happen. They screwed up. No, I'm convinced that it really could be. It could possibly even be that someone in law enforcement at Minot was even guilty. I mean, I taught English at a Air Force base, a North Atlantic Treaty Organization Air Force base in Rome. At I don't think it was Ciampino. It might have been. I taught it there, and I realize. I remember that there were people dealing in narcotics, and once you have people on you think of Craig. I mean, in the military, they're rife with people who are taking narcotics, not just marijuana and hashish. And I'm sorry, if you're going to be taking that, they deal with people on the outside also who can assist them in getting what they want, getting their highs. So, we're left here in limbo with many, many different, shall I say, ideas. And at the end of the day, I'm sure there's people out there like me who are very angry with this, extremely angry. And I don't think that people, journalists or law enforcement, questioned well enough to really, really understand and get proper answers thoroughly.
Neo makes a good point here, Eric. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. He said the gun had to be touched by someone at the scene as it was photographed laying on his ankle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the blood is already there. The fingerprints are on the... I mean, who was handling that gun?
Well, I think this is the thing, Neo, that is what proves Chinotti and Wheat Carr's theory that he was murdered, because if it had been a suicide, it would not have fallen down on his ankles the way the gun fell. You see?
Yeah, that was very odd. Very, very odd. It's like it was placed there and then they took the picture.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There's no way that gun would have fell in that position.
Because if he, Chinotti, I think, says that if he shot himself, he's sitting in the chair and he has the gun, he shoots himself. The blast would not have had him go forward the way he did. Anything could be possible, but he says it was basically he was killed to make it look like suicide. And I think he says somebody puts his hand on the back and pushed the body forward, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there's two different photographs. You got the one he's on his side with the gun balanced on his heels, and then you got the one of him laying flat on his back.
That's right.
But you see his face in all, it's gory detail.
Mm-hmm.
And you would never be able to make out that John Carr.
We don't know if Geetson or O'Connor, to be truthful, I don't want to be malicious, but with what we just listened to and what we know, we don't know if they turned the body over. And where did the blood in the living room come from? Did somebody who was in the house already go to look at him, move the body, place the gun in a different place? The person who murdered him had blood on them and brought it out there, and Terry Gardner says, wipe that blood away. I'm going to say that I'm suspicious of Gardner. I never thought of it, but I'm suspicious of Terry Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
I'm suspicious of him. Well, nobody dares to say you broke the law. You interfered with an investigation by having blood wiped away.
Well, you heard him. He said it was a sloppy investigation. And I know crime scenes weren't as sterile as they were back then. And we know we've got a small town police force here, but the fact that they would just say, no, wipe the blood out. If that's true, why would you wipe the blood? There may have been footprints in that blood.
That's right. And then if you take, they still could do tests back then on the blood.
Footprints, yeah.
They could do tests on the blood. Was it his blood type?
I mean, chances are if there was going to be blood anywhere, it would have been footprints, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would imagine that. Wouldn't
have been up the wall unless someone had blood on their hands. And...
The one today who could clarify everything, but I'm told she doesn't want to talk anymore, would be Linda O'Connor.
Yeah, she clammed up. She didn't want to be on Josh's documentary. Nope.
Yeah, well, everybody plays it safe, you see. They play it safe.
Glenn Geetson's still alive.
I think, is Michael Knope or Nope or Canoop?
Yes, I'm pretty sure he is.
Yeah, that's who I tried to get in touch with. One person who's a researcher in the Son of Sam said, and lives out Mess, says, "Oh, I know Mike." I said, "Would you please put me in touch with him?" "Oh, I don't know. I'll see what I can do." Well, what type of an answer is that? So I called the police. I called the police in North Dakota. And the girl was all, "Oh, yes, yes, Mike. I know Mike." Sure. Okay, so you know Mike. I want to speak to Mike.
Give me Mike.
I can't stand these people, Rena. I'm serious. I cannot stand them. I can't stand them.
Why can't you stand them?
They have no souls. There's been a murder, a death. So, of course, I have to, there's a word, misprision, that you're as guilty as those who've actually committed the crime if you know the crime has taken place and you hide it or do nothing about it. It's something very, very ethical.
You're very suspicious of the feds, aren't you, Eric?
You better believe it.
What, in general, or do you mean surrounding this case, or?
In general, I'm suspicious of them. I'm suspicious now of everything. I don't trust a bloody soul.
So say if you were burgled or something, would you be reluctant to get the police involved?
No, the police were here in my home yesterday for two very, very fine detectives, Burns and Ciccotti. Ciccotti had come a week before because there was an attempted murder here on Meadowmere Park of a brother waiting and hiding with a crossbow to kill his sister. And if it had been just a bit more to the left behind, she would have been dead. And he ran from all the way the other end of Meadowmere Park into my yard at the other end in the dark. We don't have cameras. And he threw the crossbow over the bay wall into the wetlands. And now we're told that the reason why he wanted to murder her was that they had a dispute about the temperature in the house. They always say that this young man was not all there. And now there's a defense lawyer here who says he can get him off because the boy is not all in his right mind. I can't stand that. I cannot stand that.
I wanted to make a point with Neo the other night, but I forgot.
But let me just say, those cops are great. The two police officers here, they're great detectives, very, very honest, but they're the type who get screwed. They're the type who get screwed. They get sepulchred because they follow everything through. And they can't talk to the corners of their mouths.
See, yeah, I just wanted to make a point with Neo last week, but it slipped my mind, and I thought of it the next day. So we went over the fact that, that John Carr was very paranoid, accusing people like Steve Trackman and other people wanting to kill him. So John Carr is extremely paranoid and probably had been for some time.
If you're taking drugs like that?
Yes. Why would the Son of Sam cult think it's a good idea to hire John Carr to carry out killings when he's this paranoid mess?
Well, let me put it this way. I don't know if he was hired. I don't know if he participated. I don't know if the Son of Sam cult actually hired people. But what I'm trying to say is that if you have a man, I don't know if you've ever met people involved with magic, the occult, that type, but a lot of these people who have been involved in deep magic go mad. The filmmaker Kenneth Anger went mad. Harry Brown might have been his name. He went mad. I was at a 2-day seminar at Princeton University in New Jersey. I would drive there from here back in 2005. And the occult and the cinema, and one of the heads of the Ordo Templi Orientis, the OTO, was there, Bill Breeze.
Mm-hmm.
And
Probably.
Yeah, and these people who get involved in this go mad. Their minds cannot take what they open up. So if you take that John Carr had a profound interest in the occult, as we've had from many a source outside of Maury Terry, and then you take in also that he was doing narcotics, you're going to get paranoid even about a picture that's in front of you, as if the picture's looking at you. Now, if you take, for example, let's take, for example, I lost my thought with the things that come on the screen. I forgot what I was going to say. These things keep bothering me when they flash up and down, and I'm talking. Nothing against Neo, nothing against Neo or anybody else. They just distort my train of thought.
Just look straight ahead.
Well, I'll remember what I wanted to say. I would say that he'd be pretty paranoid. But the question I have is this, and it didn't come up. Where does Steve Trackman come into all of this?
Well, Steve Trackman was his friend from New York visiting, seen by multiple people. They knew his name. He was John Carr's friend visiting from New York, which a lot of people tried to say was backwards. John Carr was accusing Steve Trackman of wanting to kill him, along with someone in some newspaper article that was folded up in John Carr's wallet that he then went on to burn in the sink. So John Carr in his mind had multiple people that wanted to kill him, Eric. He wouldn't have been a good candidate to go out and commit murders alongside David Berkowitz, would he?
Well, you have to remember that he's saying this after the Son of Sam case. Let's say,
I'm sure he just didn't turn out like that. I'm sure he'd been like that for some time, Eric. He'd been taking drugs for many, many years.
Well, I think things gradually escalate. Plus, there's the sadness of the divorce with his wife. Who knows? Who knows?
Not Trackman, mate. Yeah, that's right. So he had two potential people he thought wanted to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Neo said, is there any record of any of the 22 actually being with each other ever?
Who's the 22?
Oh, the 22 people that Maury has in his cult.
Oh, well, I don't pay it. I haven't even looked.
Pick a name, any name.
Mm-hmm. Well, knowing each other, well, we do have statements historically outside of Maury Terry.
Being with each other.
Of being with each other? Well, Berkowitz and the Carr brothers.
A statement by Berkowitz.
Yeah.
And then you have the statement by Lee Slater, John Carr apparently saying to Lee Slater that they bumped into each other but weren't friends.
That could be possible.
It's like I bump into people walking my dog that are walking their dogs. I wouldn't call them friends, but, I meet them walking along the road,
Look, the whole thing is a ping pong game. You get something definitively said, and then you go back and somebody denies it. And then it goes back, and maybe the person who previously denied it is telling a different story. It's all over the place.
Neo says only Ken and the cartoon gang.
Listen, Rena, let's say, because I've never said this. I've never said John Carr was involved. Even though I believe there's a collectivity, I've never fingered people the way others immediately have. But you put a question to me. Let's say John Carr was involved with the Son of Sam case, a murder or wherever. That could have even pushed him further over the edge.
Well, he was only meant to be at the Lamino Damasi attack, wasn't he? So John Carr was never actually accused of killing anybody.
No, he was never accused of killing anybody, but neither was he omitted from having killed anybody. In other words, there's a consideration about John Carr, but we don't have any proof. There is a consideration. The only time we had, it's a consideration. The only person who states that John Carr was part of a cult with them The them is Berkowitz and the man who writes that, and that is none other than Brother John Paul Rainieri. He writes
He's
that.
not the most credible, is he, Eric? Come on.
No, I would say this. Well, there are things that Rainieri is involved with, definitely, that are true. There are things that he is definitely involved with. But the problem with Rainieri, and I don't like to say something negative about people just about how they look. I often find it cruel, but when I see Rainieri speaking, his face, or when I see, for example, what's his name, the other guy, Billy the artist, they both have looks on their faces that are almost as if I'm telling you the truth, but there's another face behind the face that's speaking, as if to say, I'm having you on. It's something I don't trust. Well, here.
Yes, May. I've often wondered if that's Ken from The Process. Yup. She said, did you miss Linda saying John would get calls from New York from Ken and talk about religion and demons? Yes. When I first heard that, May, I was like, that's freaking Ken. That's Ken.
Is Ken the chap who ended up in Australia?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never did.
Ken McNaughton.
Yeah, well, Rainieri,
May thinks it was Ken McNaughton from The Process.
Mm-hmm.
That would be an amazing twist, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. It would.
Neo says, anyone in the show with Rainieri had accounts that were not given prior. Zeno, Cecilia both had false accounts.
Well, here's what Rainieri, Rainieri wrote November 18th, 1993, and this letter was released by Berkowitz to one of his correspondents, Criminal Justice Chris, who gave me Rainieri's letter before she published it. And she says, concerning my involvement in the cult from 1960 to 1963 directly and 63 to 72 indirectly, it was John Carr who initially sponsored me into the group, also introducing me to drugs and alcohol in the process, or in the process, he would say.
No pun intended.
Yeah, I know. That's right. Yeah. And that's
I think we can both agree, Eric, that
yeah, go ahead.
There's a lot of contradictions in this Minot saga.
There is so much that is contradicted, and I have to say, and I will say it again, I could have interrogated everyone better than they did. I could have done it.
Shame they didn't have you on board, Eric.
I could have.
And I'm sure you would have done a lot better dictating than Michael Armienti did.
Oh my God! Please look. I understand what Omega said.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement, whatever side of this case you're on, that there's a lot of contradictions in the people involved.
Oh well,
in Minot, whether that be friends or reporters or psychologists or police officers, or there's a lot of contradictions.
Oh, there's many.
And I don't think we'll ever get to the bottom of this, but
no, but
it makes for a good discussion if you're interested in this case.
Who knows who we have helped, who's thought of investigating this, and will pick up something, right?
Yes.
Just like the Bronx Sniper. I don't believe David Berkowitz was the Bronx Sniper, but what if somebody is an investigator, has the finance, and says, I'm going to go and find out what this Bronx Sniper was all about, and finds facts about it? I definitely not David Berkowitz in my
Well, we have got a show coming up soon with some never before seen letters. I won't go into much detail.
You and I?
Yeah.
Oh, Yeah, we
Yes.
won't tell people this. We won't tell people this. And there's a question as if one of the correspondents might even still be alive at the age of 91.
Mm-hmm.
But and in my opinion, when we do reveal who this is, this correspondent I do not see as a crackpot. But yes. Mm-hmm. Shh.
More to come, Eric.
Yep. All right. Well, Rena, I thank you
Thank
very,
you.
very much.
Thank you so much, Eric, as always.
It's
We will be back.
the one good thing about this show is that it made me more than ever. It really, really, really resonated with me, that which I knew, but not like today, of the whole thing, being suspicious even of Linda O'Connor. I'm sorry. I have to be like that. There's too much that does not make sense, and I'd like to find
I
out
agree.
from somebody where she is. Where is she? I'd like to speak with her. I'm respectful. You hear me talk. I would like.
Maybe I'll try.
Maybe you should. Maybe being from England, you could get.
Exactly. And a female.
That's right. Mhm.
Thank
You
you, chatters. Thank you for
Thank
participating.
you, everybody. Thank you, Neo. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Mazish.
Thank you, Leash.
people.
Thank you, Amiga. Thank you, everybody. Don't mean to leave anybody out.
Omega.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Thank you, sweetheart. God
Peace out.
bless. Mhm.